Good day.
Thousands of people in the United Kingdom are joining Mercury in their homes and businesses every week.
Let's ask these four gentlemen why.
Why?
With the introduction of competition, the cost of everybody's long-distance and international phone calls has come down by an average of 40%.
Why?
I'm delighted that Mercury charges their calls so accurately. They charge you for what you use. They don't round up to the nearest unit.
Why?
The presence of their 24-hour service and the fact that Mercury introduced fully itemized bills make me proud to be a user of Mercury.
Why? Most interesting, thank you.
And remember,
A Mercury chooser makes for a happy user.
The car in front has a unique lean burn engine that's the most powerful in its class. It has a more spacious and refined interior. And with up to 57 miles per gallon, it's the most economical in its class. The car in front has the confidence of a 3-year, 60,000-mile manufacturer's warranty. From £10,625, the car in front is a Toyota, the Carina E, now built in Britain.
Every year, nearly 4 million people use Sensodyne toothpaste to help overcome the problem of sensitive teeth. Because when teeth are sensitive, it hurts. Right to the very center of the tooth. With regular daily use, Sensodyne F's advanced formula quickly and effectively calms the nerves that cause pain, and it freshens breath. Now she uses Sensodyne F to relieve the pain of sensitive teeth.
What is reality? Can a photo really be this good? New Fujicolor Super G, so real it's unreal.
In the wet, you can't choose a better tire than a Uniroyal.
The Dutch reacted with shock and shame today to the desecration by neo-Nazis of an Allied war cemetery at Nijmegen, close to the German border. Racist symbols and slogans were daubed on the graves of men who fell in the Battle for Arnhem, the battle for the bridge too far. General Sir John Hackett, who led the British at Arnhem, said tonight he was horrified by the desecration. James Furlong at ITN reports.
Symbols the Dutch people hoped never to see on their soil again. The headstones of young Allied servicemen who died liberating the area from Hitler's forces, now daubed with swastikas. It's the worst case of neo-Nazi-inspired vandalism in the Netherlands in recent memory. And all day people gathered at the cemetery, unable to believe what had taken place in their town.
They are ashamed of themselves, people from Nijmegen. And I think it's good that they are ashamed, all of them.
I am so disappointed that people do this.
It's a bunch of idiot people.
Many of those buried there were killed in the Battle of Arnhem. Others died in the final push to drive the armies of the Third Reich from the Netherlands. And tonight, in the clubs of the Royal British Legion, where many had lost friends in those battles, there was both anger and sadness.
To think that they've treated the war graves like this, their mentality must be the lowest of low. And I just don't know anything else. I just feel it inside of me, that's all.
I mean, to desecrate any grave is serious enough, but to desecrate a grave of brave men of the Royal British of the Army, I think it's absolutely disgusting. And they should be treated with the contempt they deserve and also severely punished. any of us who served in the forces at that time, and to find out that this is going on, it is absolutely disgusting, because it should never have been allowed. I mean, it shouldn't be allowed.
It may be impossible to properly clean all the stones. The Commonwealth War Graves Commission fears some may have to be replaced. And Dutch detectives said tonight they believe those responsible may have come from across the border in Germany.
The 800 women police officers in Northern Ireland were told today that by April they'll be allowed to carry guns on the streets. In an announcement today, the RUC said the change is being made to give female officers equal opportunities. ITN's Eric McInnes reports from Belfast.
Women officers on the streets of Northern Ireland have until now relied entirely on their heavily armed male colleagues for protection. 6 women have been killed in that time, 88 have been injured. But now the 800 female officers will be trained and issued with weapons in order to protect themselves and play a full role in helping to protect operational units.
I think on some occasions we do feel that we have to depend on our male colleagues. Now we will rightfully have the right to protect ourselves.
The Chief Constable, Sir Hugh Ansley, said the move would ensure equality of opportunity, but senior officers in the past have argued against it on security grounds. According to some sources, it was hinted within the force that women officers with guns would be especially targeted. But campaigners welcomed today's decision, saying security had to be balanced against equal rights.
A lot of the younger women I would know in the police, they want to do the job. They want to be equal to their male partners. They don't want to be a liability if they're out on patrol because they haven't got the same sort of equipment.
By next April, all women police officers in Northern Ireland will have been trained. This will bring the RUC into line with other British police forces, where female officers are familiar with the use of weapons and carry guns on special operations.
International scientists meeting in Glasgow today have been unable to decide what should be done with the last traces of the smallpox virus, still held in laboratories in Moscow and Atlanta. Our Scotland correspondent Hugh Pym reports.
Behind these gates, in a quiet corner of Moscow, a laboratory that holds one of only 2 supplies of the deadly smallpox virus, the other in Atlanta, USA. Minimal security, a ramshackle building to house one of the most prolific killers in the history of mankind. It could fall into the wrong hands, so now's the time for the virus stored here under lock and key to be destroyed, according to many speakers at tonight's debate.
These actual stocks we have not been used for the last 15 years, but they remain a potential source from which the virus could possibly escape if it was, for example, it got into the hands of a terrorist group.
But scientists cannot be entirely sure that the only stocks left on Earth are those in the laboratories in Atlanta and Moscow. It could be, for example, that a third world government has built up its own secret stockpile unknown to the scientific community. So others at the conference in Glasgow argued there's no point in destroying the virus stocks. They could still be useful for research.
Smallpox virus was a deadly disease, and by studying some of the genes involved in causing disease of smallpox, we may get insights into disease mechanisms of other viruses which are existing at the moment.
A mass vaccination program in the 1960s and 70s wiped out smallpox around the world. The last known victim died in 1978 at a Birmingham hospital when the virus was accidentally released from a laboratory. But today's debate has revealed the threat from smallpox is still with us. Hugh Pym, News at 10 at the International Congress of Virology in Glasgow.
Other news, an all-party group of MPs has condemned the government for awarding the Trident submarine contract to Devonport. Devonport beat Rosyth because the government said it was cheaper, but the Defence Committee called that unsafe. It called the bidding process flawed and suggested contracts should be given to both yards. Clydesdale Bank is cutting 800 jobs over the next 2 years. They'll go as part of a reorganisation plan in which 3 new customer service centres will be created. And the mother of Joy Gardner, the woman who died after police tried to deport her, took a campaign to Downing Street today. Mrs. Myrna Simpson handed over a letter demanding a full public inquiry. He is celebrated in song, he's a faithful friend, and he may not be around much longer. He is the milkman. New figures show that in the last 10 years, nearly a third of our milkmen have disappeared. Tonight's Focus in Britain examines why and why it matters. Norman Rees reports on a British institution in danger.
It happens twice a day, every day.
2.5 million cows in for milking. 40,000 dairy herds in all, producing 30 million litres every 24 hours. It's big business, very big. Income to British dairy farmers, £2.5 billion a year. But the major battle, who sells it to the customers after it's left the farm? 2 a.m. at a depot in Hull, milkmen preparing for the morning rounds. They're a British institution, but they're under threat.
Well, we're just a way of life. We are a way of life, an institution that nobody misses until it's not there.
And they're increasingly not there. 40,000 milkmen were on the rounds 10 years ago. Only 28,000 are still in business today. No other country has this doorstep delivery, but fewer and fewer of us are prepared to pay for it, around 10 pence a pint above supermarket prices. But milkmen say they provide a community service the big stores cannot match.
When you get to your pensioners, I mean, you're maybe the only person to see on a daily basis. And it's the old story. I mean, we've all go into pensioners' flats and do the odd job, change the fuse and hang a few curtains and things like that, and just see that the pensions are all right.
It was seeing pensioners all right that made Colin Dean Milkman of the Year.
Hi there, you all right? Sugar, bacon, tea, potatoes.
He's a grand lad and he'll do anything for you. Anything. If is it possible, he'll do it.
But the pace of change may be too much for milkmen like Colin. This major plant in Leeds fills 400,000 pint bottles a day for doorstep delivery, but that's half what it produced a decade ago. More and more of the production line is being turned over to cartons and containers for the supermarkets.
You have to embrace change, and you have to get the best out of the new things, retain the best out of the old. There's no point in saying, is this a good thing or it's a bad thing? We're in business to give our customers what they want.
And that's exactly what supermarkets claim to be doing, undercutting doorstep prices by a quarter.
Our customers prefer to buy milk from the supermarket as part of the weekly shop, and we can offer them such a wide range, especially of sizes of milk. 1 pint, 2 pint, 4, 6 pints, which they can't get from the milkman.
But it's not always size or price that defeats the milkman.
He used to leave the gate open every morning, and he used to